This is my boss.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Hey, we're recording now.
I don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about, Steven? Are you calling HR? Are you calling Nancy?
I've written many complaints to Nancy, and I don't know why. None of them I've gotten addressed.
It's because Nancy is a terrible employee.
Damn it, Nancy.
Anyway, you know what pisses me off other than everything?
Everything?
I said other than everything, Steven.
Well, what's other than everything? I mean, it's everything.
I mean, not everything pisses me off, but what pisses me off, cars that park basically over the line in my box. Like last night, a car is parked in my box. I'm going to check the camera right now to see if they're still parked around my box. I was able to get out, but it's not the point. The point is it's more difficult for me to cut the turn, and it would be more difficult for me to back into it, coming back into my house, because they're 2 feet over the fucking line in the box.
Do you have a tow sign in front of your...
My entire... what is the thing called? A garage door has a...
No parking.
It has no parking.
You will get towed.
It says no parking, will be towed by Philadelphia Towing, and then in small print it says fuck around and find out.
Does it really?
Yeah. It says,
Did you add that?
No, well, my friend Troy has a garage, and he ordered one for his garage, and he's like, my buddy makes them. You want me to order you one? It's like $40. I said, sure. And it came with fuck around and find out on the bottom.
How small of a print are we talking?
It's like 6 point, but it's there. It still works. Let's see. Did they move their
thing
car?
To do, like block.
No,
in.
They didn't move their fucking car. I'm going to show you. Can you see my screen?
I mean, what if you had to go to? Could you leave for work?
Yes, I could, but do you see how they're far over the box?
Oh, I thought they were parking all inside the box. I didn't realize they were just over the line.
If they were in, but do you know how difficult it is to cut that turn to back in?
Oh, I get it. Yeah, it's still hard.
So it's not like they're on the line. They're into the X. X is going to give it to them, and they're going to fuck around. They're going to fucking find out. And you see there's a note on the car, right?
I wonder who left that.
I wrote a note last night, and the note is simple. If your car's not gone by 7 a.m,
Did you write fuck around and find out?
Basically, look, I've gotten past the idea that I need to worry about being nice. One, it's a BMW, all right? So fuck them for their BMW first and foremost. It was a woman.
What does that mean?
It was a woman who got out of their at with a bouquet of flowers and walked the other way. I checked the camera. It was 9:40. We are now recording at 10:07, which is 12 hours ago. At the very least, I want to leave a second note that says, at the very least, if you're going to park over the line, which is questionable for me to get in and get out.
Should be in and out.
You should at least get up in the morning and move your fucking car early.
Yep.
My neighbor, Fran, you don't fuck around with Fran.
Not Franny.
You don't fuck around with Fran. No one fucks around with Fran. Fran's old school.
She runs the block.
Fran runs the block. She's been there since she was a kid.
OG.
She's OG. She doesn't. When you fuck around, you find out with Fran, you'll get a foot right up your ass. So Fran, on the other hand, and her husband, they have these big trucks, like F-150s, but the Dodge version Ram kind. And
like long beds and everything.
Very big trucks for the city. It's a little big, but they tow things. They tow their trailers and stuff like that. They're RVs and shit. And so occasionally they will put their car in my box. But I told them, I said, hey, if it's like late at night or something or whatever, just ring my doorbell. We'll talk on the ring if I'm around. But at the very least, if they do park there, they hear me open my garage door if I'm coming back, and they're ready to move their car right away. And then usually it's like, I see the block is very difficult to park on right now. Why don't you leave it there? Because I know your husband leaves at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
Right? And so we have a little thing. I'm like, yeah, cool, go ahead. But nobody else can do that. It's them. They can do that. I allow them to do that. But this person now, over 12 hours later, I will be calling. I was going to say, should I call live on air right now to 911? Because we have to call 911. It's not an emergency. There's someone parked in my box. But they're over the line.
I always felt that it's very weird to call 911 for something like that.
Well, yes, I find it to be weird too. But the thing is, you see they're over the line by more than like 2 feet. They're into the X, not even where the X's end at the end of the box. It's just so disrespectful and pretentious to think that, oh, you're okay to do it. So I will call in a ticket. The letter I left on their car, the note last night was, I cannot safely get in and out of my fucking spot without worrying about either getting hit by oncoming traffic that I can't see, or I don't want to, and I don't need to give them explanations. I don't want to damage my car. This is a photo podcast, by the way. I don't want to damage my car. I don't want to hit your fucking car. More so, I don't want to damage my car. Fuck your car.
Well, and I think to paint the picture, you have a very, very narrow street. So you're basically making a direct, straight 90-degree turn if someone is over those lines. You need that little leeway so you can kind of make a smooth turn.
So I can cut the turn.
So you can cut,
but
yeah.
In this case,
it really
I
is
can't
almost
cut
impossible.
the turn.
Exactly.
In this case, I can't cut the turn.
That's why it becomes a big deal.
Right. And in the past, I've had people park right up against the line, which is fine because the line is there. It's very difficult if people really park right up against the lines. For me, I can do it. I can navigate it. I literally have to do a K turn and go backwards in the K. I have to go back the other way down the street. And I also have to make sure people give me enough room. Anyway, I will, after this episode, I'll be calling in a ticket because it's over 12 hours.
So wouldn't you just call the PPA instead of 911, or do they not have an actual...
No, because PPA doesn't patrol our street. For those who don't know, PPA is the Philadelphia Parking Authority, is a hired gun by the city to give tickets around the city, and they're a for-profit business, and the city gets a percentage of what they get. My street is not a permit street as of now. So you don't call the PPA, you call 911, ain't nothing to fuck with, and they come out and they put a ticket on the car, and once it has a ticket, I'm allowed to call and get it towed. So if I won't probably get it towed if I can if I can navigate to get in. But I mean, just the disrespect of leaving something for 12 hours, over 12 hours. Yeah. It's like, come on, you're over the line. You know what? Fuck around, find out. Fuck around, find out. See what the fuck happens. It's Philly. It's a fight.
You don't even know.
It's the fightin', Steve. It's the fightins. Have you seen the fightin', Steve?
Oh, I've seen it. Yes.
That's funny. It's the fightin', Steve. Okay,
it's the fightins.
All right, so that's what I got. And the other day I was listening to the podcast in my house because I wanted to play it for my friend Katie. I wanted to play her a funny part, and it sounded really good on my speakers. It also sounds really good in the cars.
I try.
It sounds much better than all the other a lot of the podcasts I listen to.
Well, the worst is it's normally comes down to just sheer volume. Like in my car, a decent compressed podcast is like a 46. Like that's a really loud, boomy podcast, like ours. But half the time I'm at like a 60, cranked all the way up for most other podcasts. So it's the worst especially when they have these random commercials thrown in that like Spotify throws in, because it's real low for the podcast and then super loud when the commercial hits. There's no volume normalization or anything like that. At least ours is pretty consistent across the board, but it does suck when you're going from ours to somebody else's or vice versa, because it's like, whoa, way too loud or way too low.
Well, you'll just notice a big difference that ours is boomy and we sound fantastic versus just about every other podcast. Even high-end podcasts sound like shit. And what I mean by high-end are the successful ones.
Now, granted, I have a ton of reverb in the room that I shoot in because I've got almost nothing in here in my office, so it is very tinny on my end, and even on your end too, but I mean, most people won't know.
Anyway, this is RAWtalk episode number 19. 19 weeks, Steven.
Wow.
That's a lot of weeks.
Yeah.
We started it with we wanted to get it back going, and I'm enjoying it. Our numbers are climbing. We're due hopefully right around 8,000. Well, we're climbing almost to 8,000 in the first 7 days. Our goal is to hit to 10,000 in the first 7 days, which is nice. So if you're not subscribed wherever you subscribe and auto download, or just listen to it. I don't want you to auto download it if you're not going to listen to it, obviously. I don't want you to do that if you don't enjoy it. But please go ahead and do that. You can also call us at 313-710-9729. And by call, I actually mean text.
I forgot.
You text us. You can do that. Also, I've been seeing a lot of hashtags. Thank you guys on the Photo News Fix or other videos that say you're a RAWtalk listener. So we're going to start this off with a good hashtag for you to use the next time you see RAWtalk or anywhere else. And it can't be fuck around find out because YouTube won't like that. But hashtag F around find out. Hashtag F around find out. And you can spell it EF.
Franny's going to come for you.
No, you don't fuck around with Fran. Hashtag don't mess with Fran.
Old school.
She old school. Fishtown.
Well, and the thing with this podcast, going back to the 19 straight weeks, is I wanted to give it at least a good 6 months of nonstop recording, not taking any time off. I mean, obviously, the holidays are something we can skip an episode or two.
No, we can't.
But I feel like we always give things like maybe 2 to 4 weeks, and we kind of can it, and we never really give it that long term, let's see how it goes.
When's the last time we canned something?
I feel like with a podcast, well, like shorts, for example, we tried like 3. You know what I mean? I'm saying we didn't do like a long-term, let's try for 6 months and see how it goes.
Yeah, because I think they suck. And
you just
think
never
they
know.
suck. No, you just never know. But,
and we've tried RAWtalk reboots in the past, and it went for, 2-3 weeks and kind of canned that too.
Well, that's because we tried to do a similar form to how we did it at the beginning. This form is more, let's just have a conversation about whatever we want to talk about, Seinfeld style, and throw in our photo stories, which we have quite a lot to talk about today.
And there's still some slight prep. You'll send me the stories 20 minutes beforehand, even though today you gave me an hour to read up on these stories.
You had an hour, Steven.
But it's not like before where it was half a day of me prepping 7 different news stories to talk about for the entire podcast. It's a lot less on that end. So
yeah, because I'm the news now. I'm the captain. News. I'm the news. Let's see. So we're going to talk about a couple of things photo worthy. We're going to talk about Douglas Kirkland real quick when we get there. We're going to talk about what I wrote and emailed out. I'm not sure if you even saw that. What I wrote the other day?
I didn't see the email. I saw the Instagram story and Facebook post.
Yeah, I'll talk about that in a minute. We're going to talk about, because we didn't talk about the rumors of the Sony a7R last week, even though I said that we were going to talk about it on the next RAWtalk. I somehow didn't do it. So we're going to talk about what we think those might be when that comes out, as well as the rumors about a R100 from Canon. We have a story about YouTube maybe doing away with 4K unless you be in a 4K videos unless you are a subscriber. I don't think that would be true. I
think it's a little hard to go backwards at this point.
We'll read that one. We've got something about a bridemaid being demoted to a photographer. We've got a Kate Middleton story, and we've got NFTs. And
your favorite.
How NFTs have been doing, and a couple of questions from users. And that's cool. And that's what we got. Let's start off with I got recognized reffing the other day.
You love that. You love it.
I do. I walked into the pro shop looking for, hey, do you know where the ref room is? Because it's been 6 years since I've been to this rink, and I didn't remember where they had it. And he's like, no, I don't, but I watch your videos. I'm a subscriber. I'm like, cool, thanks. So I'm sitting in the ref room getting ready, and this kid comes in, Sam. I think his name's Sam. He's like 19. He goes to Rowan. And he's talking to me. He's like, so what do you do? I'm like, I'm a photographer. And he's like, I knew it was you. I saw that hair.
Photo.
He's like,
Jacob.
He's like, we're gonna have to get a selfie after this. That I ran into you. And then I get onto the ice and I'm introducing myself to the coaches, which is what you always do before a game. And the one coach is like, I know who you are. I watch your videos. I'm like, cool. No, and that was it.
So are they actual photographers? Because I feel like you really need to be into photography to watch our stuff.
I don't know. I didn't ask him if they're actual photographers. This kid has a Canon 70D, he said.
Yeah, okay.
So he was taking a photo class in school. That's my update on reffing. I'm enjoying. I like reffing. I did a couple of games.
Gives you something to do.
Oh, it does when I'm not riding my bike, and it's fun. And I go out there and I have fun, and I talk to people, and I'm like, leave me alone. Don't yell at me. Fuck around, and find out.
Luckily, you had this weekend, games to ref, because it's been a dismal, rainy 4 days straight. Yeah, after Hurricane Ian broke up and left us all the remnants.
Yep, lots of rain, and it should be
4
done.
inches over the past 3 days.
So your length.
I mean, on a good day.
I guess somebody's going to be like, every week you make a penis joke. Every week. Oh, and I'm not fasting. I did have a cupcake last night.
How dare you?
How dare you? How dare you, Jared? You're a bad Jew.
You're not one of us, Jared.
How do you not go ahead and fast for Yom Kippur? Because I choose not to, and I want to eat my food because I enjoy food, and I don't need to fast and find out.
So you guys still meet up for the holidays, though, right?
Meet up? What, the Jews?
Yeah, well, you and your brother, right?
The other Jews in my family?
The Jews, yes.
Generally, we do have a family thing. My mom was the religious one. She was the one who would go to synagogue on Yom Kippur and do the whole thing. And we would go and leave early, and she'd stay and do her thing. And then we'd break the fast, which I never fasted. I don't think I ever fasted once in the whole thing.
They didn't force you?
No, there's no forcing. It's our choice. It's not Christianity or Catholicism where it's like
could be a
fuck around, find out, you're dead.
It's not just Catholicism. It's a lot of religions where they're very strict.
They are very strict, but no, I choose to do what I want, and I eat my cupcake.
You? No. I never thought.
I'm not fasting. I don't care. I'm not religious. I don't believe in any of that stuff, and the only thing I believe in any of the religions is community, and that's just community.
Yep.
Anyway, we do family dinners when we do family dinners, and that's about it. There's no, I don't know if I'll ever find it again or care about it again. Probably not. Probably not. Yeah. Anyway, so the news came down the other day that Douglas Kirkland passed away at 88. Douglas Kirkland was the photographer to the stars, as they say, where he started in 1960 or somewhere around in the 50s, photographing Marilyn Monroe and all of the movie sets. He did Titanic, right? He was on set for doing Titanic.
Titanic?
Yeah, Titanic. One of the coolest things.
Never heard of that one.
No. One of the coolest things that he did do was work with Coco Chanel, who was actually a real person named Coco Chanel in Paris. So Douglas shows up in Paris in like 19 years old in the 1959 or something, and he goes to Coco Chanel and wants to do photo stories on her. Kind of similar to what I do with 6 Degrees. He spends time, and he got access, and he did this whole spending time. I don't know how much time he spent. I have to break out that book again, but it's just really cool to see what he was doing in Paris in 1959 or 1960 with Coco Chanel.
And it probably wasn't much of a thing back then, having a photographer follow you around nonstop for, say, like something like a 6 Degrees style of shooting.
No, but she was big
day
on
in the life.
She was big on TikTok.
Big on TikTok, yes.
Yeah, she was big on TikTok back then.
Yeah.
But really cool stuff. We had the pleasure of we met Douglas at a Canon event in LA. I don't remember which event it was. And Douglas spoke and told us about, because he was an explorer of light all the way through and showed us a bunch of his work. And then at the end of it, I was
got a signed copy of his book.
Oh yeah, they gave us a signed copy of his book. And then at the end, I was like, hey, I do this project called 6 Degrees. I talked to Francoise.
I can't recall how you pronounce it.
She got upset if I said the man version, which was Francoise. So I think it's Francois.
I think it is too.
So she's French, and she basically handled and managed Douglas. And so I said, hey, next time I come around, can I do a photo story? And so you and I went up into the hills of Hollywood. Was there anybody else with us, or was it just you and I?
I think it was just me and you, yeah.
And then there was people that worked there. So we go up to the Hollywood Hills where they work out of a house, beautiful mid-century modern house in the hills. Oh my God.
Yeah. They just had all the windows and doors open, no screens, nothing. It was just beautiful weather, beautiful conditions.
It was beautiful to get up there to the hills. Just like mid-century modern, beautiful. It's like the stuff that I would love. It's probably built in the 60s and 70s. So,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they said that he built his studio onto the house and it looks amazing. And we got to spend 4 or 5 hours there taking photos, and we also did an interview.
It was a lovely day. They were great people, man.
It was fun. It was a good time. So I got some great photos in that time. I got to see we traded, because Douglas said to me, he's like, I'd like a photo of me and my wife, and he painted the picture in my mind of what he would like, and then I took the picture and I showed it to him, and he's like, yes, that's what I wanted. And so I made a print of it and sent him a print, and we traded for 2 of his prints, and I have 2 of them. I think I got one of Marilyn Monroe signed by him, and then the other was the Jack Nicholson with the match in his mouth or something.
Yeah, that's the classic one.
So we traded, and I have those 2 images at my house.
Yeah, we had a great lunch with them. The interview went great. I remember she really liked how the interview turned out.
It was a tough interview. You know, Douglas was at 84 at the time.
He
was repeating. He repeated things quite a bit, but he was on point with the things that he said. He just repeated a lot because at 84 he was, a little bit.
And when I say I think she really liked the outcome of the interview, I think she meant like, in terms of how it came out after the fact, because there was a lot of editing involved to try and, salvage that interview.
To make it polished and to make it
correct,
to make everybody right. Like if
a lot of pausing and, stopping and that kind of stuff.
And at the time, she did answer a lot of the questions, and some people might be wondering, like, why would she answer the questions? And part of it was because she understood that she knows the answers to the questions, but also that he might have trouble answering them at the time.
Exactly.
So, he was still there.
She was almost his translator at that point.
Yes, basically, going on to that. You want to move on to what I wrote?
Sure.
Should we see if the car is still parked there? Oh, it's leaving. Look, Steven, it's leaving.
Quick, say something on the camera.
Fuck you. Fuck around. Find out next time.
Wait, there's Franny. She's running up to the car with a bat.
Fran's beating them up. I just tuned in. Let me go back, and because I love going back and seeing when they see the note on their car. That's always my favorite, is when they get in the car and see the note that I leave them. So I'm scrolling.
And I'm sure it's one of those, like, they read the note, crumple it up, and throw it right at your garage door.
Well, I didn't put my name. Usually I put my phone number on it so that they can call me. Somebody did text me once and apologized.
It's the right thing to do.
I'm scrolling. Are they in the car right now? This is very important, guys. This is very important to find out, because you fuck around.
And you find out. So, maybe it hasn't recorded yet. We'll revisit this. Yeah, because we have a recorder. Oh, by the way, Steven, we're going to get new cameras at the factory hopefully soon. Yeah, what are you thinking?
The same ones that I put at my house, those 4K ones that are really good.
I have the Nest system. Actually, if you look up MKBHD's latest video about what smart home tech he uses, essentially his Nest system is exactly what I have, between the smoke alarms, the 4K outdoor cameras, the Nest doorbell, the thermostat. I mean, I am fully Google. I got the Max Hub.
All right, Steven, I got it. The woman is walking towards the car. She sees the note. She moves her mirror. She's smiling. Oh, she's going to fuck around and find out. And she doesn't even read the note.
And then there's Franny. Franny's running that.
You fuck around. You fuck around. You're finding out next time. I got you with your white BMW X3. I see you. I don't care much about you.
You know what I've noticed as a constant trend while I'm driving is that the dickhead drivers tend to be driving very expensive cars. And I'm talking like Ferraris, Porsches, Beamers on occasion, but it's always those guys weaving in and out of traffic or driving on the shoulder because they're better than everybody else and they can skip the traffic. Always. It's always. I always talk to Nicole, my wife. I'm like, look, I guarantee it's going to be like a Beamer. And it is.
Okay, that's you're terrible, Steve. I can't believe you would try to do that to people and try
every single time. It's always a very expensive car.
What about me?
Like a Lexus, like a purple, bluish Lexus.
It's blue. It's not purple.
Whatever it is.
They don't make it in purple.
It's like the dress, gold.
No, that's stupid bullshit. Anyway, so why don't I read this thing, which kind of, I'll read this. So I was just sitting around here at the studio, which I tend to do if I don't have much going on that I need to get done, and it kind of upsets and frustrates me because
what am I going to do with my life?
Yes, that, because I've got Dan editing and Steven's editing, and which leaves me to twiddle my thumbs to I'm not just going to go make videos myself, and I didn't have anything to test out, though the 70-300 just came in for
but it's been raining for days.
Right, the Z mount. Yeah, so it's been raining. So I just sat down and I wrote something and I liked it. So I Instagrammed it and then I put it on Facebook and then I also sent it as an email yesterday. So people were like, is this a Yom Kippur message? I'm like, no. Don't look at me like that. So I wrote it and I'm going to read it right meow. You ready, Steven?
Oh, I'm ready.
You are not alone in the way you feel. Whether it's up or down, remember, you are not alone. Oh. You are not alone. I am here with you.
Nope.
Though we're far apart, you're always in my heart. All right. Whether it's up or down, remember, you are not alone. You're not the first to be in the position you're in, and you won't be the last. I like to say things ebb and flow. That's why I try not to get too high or too low. You will have good times, you will have bad times. You'll have really bad times, and you'll have really amazing times. But please understand, it's a cycle. You win some, you lose some. Don't over-celebrate the victories, and don't beat yourself up too hard with your mistakes or failures. Cut yourself and others a break. Not assholes who park in your spot, though. Fuck them and find out. Let go of whatever is okay. Let go of whatever it is you're holding against yourself or someone else. It's not worth the mental stress to hold on to certain things because
let bygones be bygones.
Because there's always a tomorrow until there's not.
Oh,
this short brought to you by Better Health. No, Better Health Online, Better Health, whatever that online bullshit. Online help. You know what's bullshit about that online help thing? It's an online psychiatrist thing where you could talk to therapists, but in order to use BetterHelp, because I went and looked at it because I heard the Pivot podcast talk about it, you sign up, but you can only pick therapists from Pennsylvania. They're like, well, they have to be licensed where you're licensed.
I was going to say it's probably a law and licensing.
Screw that. If I want to talk to some person in California because they're different or they have better hours available than the people in Pennsylvania, then I want to speak to whoever I want to speak with. This is bullshit. Fuck you and find out. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's what I wrote. What do you think, Steven?
I think I hear that all the time from you.
Really?
Basically.
Ebbs and flows?
Paraphrased. Oh, ebbs and flows. My favorite is, speaking of ebbs and flows, you're never like too high or too low on a specific video. I'm always like, well, what'd you think of the video? It's fine. Or like, what'd you think of the movie? It's fine. It's never like, oh, it was amazing, or like, it was really, really good, or no, it sucked. It's always, it's fine.
Well, how many times do you run into these people that over-celebrate little victories?
All the time.
And they over-celebrate some big victory, but then they crash really hard on these other things because they're not even keeled.
Yep.
And so the message I had here is like, you're not alone in the way you feel, right?
Sure.
Other people feel the same way. You're in a position, people are also in that same position, so you're not alone in how you feel. So don't get too high, don't get too low. Try and it's all right to celebrate your victories, but don't overdo it. And don't over-celebrate every little minor thing, because you're just going to drive yourself nuts.
And I always have to remind you, I feel like that, there's a lot of people that look up to someone like you and wish they were in your shoes.
Well, I'm a little short, so they usually don't look up to me.
I'm just saying, sometimes there's that constant conversation of feeling like almost like you're not good enough, or we should be doing better, or whatever it may be. And it's like, we're doing great, man. Everything's good, smooth sailing at this point until something drastic happens. Then I think we should figure out other things in terms of like the YouTube world.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to always get better with what we do.
And hey, we should evolve at all times for sure, but it should be very incremental evolutions at that point.
No, I know.
Changes.
I know. But it gets frustrating to sit here, in my shoes sometimes.
Well, and I've said this before, it's very hard for me to give you something to do, because unless you want to do it or thought of the idea yourself, you usually will be like, no, I don't feel like doing that. No.
Well, here's the thing.
Even if it has to be done.
Well, right. Sometimes I don't feel like doing it. But yesterday I did record a critique, but I'm like, these critique videos are fucking boring. But on the flip side,
definitely on the filler side, yeah.
So people do like the critiques, and they do get an okay amount of views, 40, 50,000, which is great. But it's just like, I don't want to make all that content like that.
Well, and critiques, I'd say, are every 2 months maybe we do one. We don't release them very often.
Well, I used to do them weekly. I used to do the rapid fire critique, but we started to get in trouble in 2015, 2016.
Where that's all we did.
A lot of talking head. And we haven't run into those. I will tell you, we haven't gotten the message, the comments lately about, you don't teach us anymore. Honestly, I think the teaching video content style on YouTube has disappeared for now. People
I kind of agree, yeah.
want that. They want to hear the gear. They want to see the storytelling stuff. And we do try to teach in everything that we do. Like even in the Bernie video, if you watch that video, you're seeing how we actually are on the road shooting, and I'm giving you pointers on how I do it.
And if it comes up organically, then I'm all about it. It's when it's like a forced teaching moment. That's when it's a little iffy.
Yeah. Well, you know what they say.
What?
It's never iffy if it's griffy.
I just think we have a nice diverse amount of content at this point where, we've got the lens reviews, the photo news fixes, we've got the new gear reviews in general, all of that kind of mixing. We're using different sets. We're not always just at the computer at all times, talking head style. I think that really helps break up the monotony of, tutorials at all times.
I would like to, we got away from 5-minute portraits for a while. Not saying that we should get back to doing it in that style, but maybe trying some, very similar to what we did with when we went to Allen's to borrow like vintage era glass. It was kind of like a challenge that we set. And so, I've been watching.
When we did the D1X video, I thought that was one of the best videos we've done, where it takes you from the beginning to the end of what gear are we bringing, here's the shoot, how are we going to shoot it, all that.
So if we can tighten that up into a 20-minute or less video,
But that's where you come in and you make it like a 2-hour video, where I really think we should set a timer almost and be like, we have 15, 20 minutes to shoot. That's it.
Well, maybe not even that. Maybe I do the shoot and I do the challenge, but we just do like a 2-minute retrospective of the shoot. So it's like me voicing over as you're watching me shoot and blah, blah, blah. And then I show the results, right?
I don't know. I mean, I think the whole thing with that D1X video was that interaction between you and the subject and seeing him work, and your kind of fly on the wall style. And I don't know. It's a real uncut, quote unquote, uncut video.
That was a good video, though.
It was. And 5-minute portraits like that take some time to edit. That's the other thing, because, we might have 4 hours of footage, but we cut it down to 45 minutes, hopefully.
Well, you know that if someone else is shooting, it's probably going to be shaky and you won't use it anyway.
And that's the other thing. I typically need a second shooter of some sort, which I end up using almost none of their footage.
Yeah, generally speaking, because, some people don't know how to shoot video.
Yeah.
Inside jokes. All right, so the thing we didn't talk about last week was the Sony a7R5 rumors.
Yes.
What do you think, Steven? What do you think an a7R5 will bring us when it's real?
Well, should I say what are the rumor sites thinking, or what do you think
What do you think it's going to be?
See, the question that everyone's asking is, will it be a brand new sensor? And I want to say no, just because from the past, Sony has always went with like a two body count with the same sensor, you know, from the A9 to A9 II, from the A7R3 to the A7R4. No, it was the A7R2 to the A7R3.
Same
sensor. It was that same 47 megapixel sensor. Will they do the same with this one? I mean, it's still a great 61 megapixel sensor. And I remember our buddy Mark Weir from Sony specifically said that this was
39 years.
This was still Sony's top sensor even after the A1 came out. So,
well, they're always going to say that. Well, that is the camera I switched to. Was the A7R4 was the camera I switched to when we went on the road with Bernie.
And I do think it's a pretty great camera. The only issue I found is I felt it was very slow with frame rate. And buffer, and on top of that, not great in low light. Like when we push it to even past 3200, it's a little iffy.
It's never iffy, Steven.
Unless it's Griffey.
If it's Griffey.
Whatever.
Never iffy if it's Griffey. I mean, I agree with you.
And I assume they're going to give all the bells and whistles of all the new video features that came with like the A7 IV and the new menu, the variable shutter option that the A1 and the A7 IV have. Will it have a vari-angle touchscreen this time? Because in the past, the R models have always had a flip-out screen, a tilting screen.
I would hope that. Honestly, I hope companies go back to the flippy screen and not the vari-angle screen.
Well, I think when it comes to a pure photography still standpoint, I do agree that a tilting screen should be the way to go versus something like a vari-angle touchscreen. And even when they do have the vari-angle touchscreen, usually the screen doesn't even flip out and stay flush with the body anyway.
Nope.
And I assume it'll have dual CF Express Type A slots like all the other new Sony cameras. The other question that I was wondering, the R bodies were always the first ones to start the next body generation.
Yeah.
You know, with the R4, that was the new line of bodies moving forward. So will the R5 have another new body design?
Well, I hope they go bigger, but it doesn't seem like they will. And
my thing is the feel of the plastic. It gets, especially with someone like me who has very clammy, sweaty hands at like all times, it's very slippery almost. It's not really grippy material like something like the Canon cameras have or the Nikon cameras too.
Yeah, I said this, I don't know where I said it. I wrote it somewhere. Actually, I wrote it on the pickleball photos of my brother. I said, going from using the R3 to the A1 last week to test out, what was I testing out with the A1? There was a new lens?
One of the new Tamron lenses maybe?
Is it something that I wasn't supposed to talk about? I can't think about it. Let me think. What was I using the A1 for? No, it wasn't something I wasn't supposed to talk about. I used the A1 for 50 to 400. Right. It was the 50 to 400, which is out already. So going back to using that body, I'm like, I don't like using this body. It doesn't feel good in the hands. The buttons, there's a lot of buttons, but they don't feel like that they're real easy, like in the right places. And then you pick up the R3 again and you're like, oh, wow, that feels like home. It just feels like home. Whereas the the A1 doesn't. And I'm not the only one who feels that way. It's just not balanced right. It doesn't feel good in the hands. And honestly, these CF Express A cards are way too expensive for what they do. They're not
half the speed.
They're not as fast as the CF Express Type B cards. Now, for those of you who don't know, the A card is the smaller new form factor. It's a little smaller than SD cards, but it's thicker, it's faster, and it has some storage. I can't say more storage because it doesn't. But in the Sony a7R4, no, the R4 doesn't have it. The A1 has it, and the 4 has it, right? The reverse compatible? No,
correct.
The 4 does. Whatever.
I think the A1 was the first one to have CF Express Type A, if I recall.
Right, so
maybe the A9 too, but I don't think so.
No, I don't think the A9 II has it yet. The CF Express A, the card slot is reverse compatible, so you could put SD cards in there one way, or
which
take
is
that
very
card out.
nice. I will say
it is great, but when you don't get the same speed because the cards aren't fast enough, the A's, like the whole point was Sony likes to make things smaller. They're big into miniaturizing. You've seen it with PlayStation 1 to PlayStation 1 version 2 to PlayStation 2. Actually, I don't think they came out with a second version of PlayStation 1, but PlayStation 2 and then the minier PlayStation 2 was so much smaller than the original brick. And so they like to make things a lot smaller. And the problem is these cards are too expensive. in the last Photo News Fix, I talked about them releasing 320 gig cards and 640 gig tough cards, and the pricing was like $699 and $1,249. You know, so $1,250 for a 640 gig card is astronomically stupid.
And again, there's no advantage over the A cards versus the B cards, minus the smaller size and the reverse compatibility, but you're getting half the speed for double the price.
Especially when pro-grade digital, you said it was like $179 or something for
CF Express B.
Like 256 or 512. It's just economically, the cards are faster, the CF Express Type B, and two, there's more storage for less money. So I think we might be onto a beta moment again with Sony, where that the CF Express A is just not gonna happen. It's not worth the trade-off in size.
I agree.
For the smaller card, like I only had 160 gig. Yes, I say only 160 gigs in the A1, but you have to buy 2 of them. You need redundancy. So that means I have to have 4 cards because I like to have redundant cards in there. And now I'm not going to put one SD card in there and one Express A, because then it's going to dumb it down to the the SD card.
Correct.
And
I think when you're shooting 61 megapixel files, I mean, even with the 50 megapixel files,
100 megabytes each on the A1.
Giant file sizes, so you're going to need that high capacity card.
And they're like 130 megs each on the other one.
And the frame rate was always much slower on the A7R 4. What was it advertised as 10 frames a second, but really it's like 5 or 6 if you're shooting like full uncompressed RAW. So they really need to update that in the new one. I do think it's going to get a new high-res EVF, just like the other cameras. It's going to match that. And then video features, I think it's pretty much going to be probably like the A1, 8K 30, 4K 120, 10-bit, 422. But I do think there's going to be that caveat of binning or something when you're shooting 8K 30, or some kind of crop internally, because the A7R series has always been more photo-centric and not very much video-centric, and it's always had a crop if you want like a 1-to-1 readout.
I just wish they would stop. I don't care about the video, as you know. I care about the stills, but the video quality in any camera is going to be fully capable if you know what you're doing, no matter what. I say it every time. So my thing with the A7R5 is I feel that it's most likely going to stick with the same sensor, and my reasoning for that is that this camera should have been out a year ago. Unless they held it because they had a new sensor coming and they want to preemptively strike Canon and Nikon, then they would come out with a 84 megapixel, 92 megapixel, 101 megapixel, right?
But they're still the king, right, of this high megapixel full frame line.
Nothing else is 61 megapixels out there.
Unless
in
Canon
the full
comes
frame.
out with something soon, but I don't think anything's coming out soon.
I have no idea, right?
Me either.
I just the trade-off for high megapixels is like, what's the point of high megapixels versus going from
you
an
kind of
A1.
got sucked into that when you got the A1, though.
Well,
you
the A1 has 50, and I'm
zooming
like, wow.
in like 8x.
Well, I love it. I love the quality that I got from it.
The amount of detail, yeah.
With the R3, it's like, well, I have better high ISO capability with the R3 than I have with the 50 megapixel A1. And the trade-off is I could still blow up pictures to the size of the freaking wall with a 4 megapixel camera.
Back to that D1X video. We did it with that. It was what,
24 by 36.
What size megapixel camera?
6.2?
Yeah. And we still blew that up, and it looked fine.
Yeah, so we should do another challenge-y thing, because I have a bunch of old cameras. I have a D1, the original D1, which was not even a D1H or a D1X. I have a D1H. I have a D1X. I have a D2H, like my old camera that I first got. So I like the early digital cameras. Oh, I want to get a Canon one, actually.
Yeah. Yep.
I want to get a Canon one. And
the original 5D or something like that.
No. I want to go into the 1D series, the before times.
Okay.
The before times. But
the before
1.3x crop factor.
I was just going to say it wasn't full frame yet.
It was 1.3x. So they had full frame, they had DX, and they had 1.3 was the crop for sports. And that's what they had. So it would be interesting to go back. Actually, I wanted to get a 1V, which was a Canon film camera, and I wanted to throw some of the EF. I have a 400 EF. I have 600 EF. We have a lot of EF glass still, and so it would be interesting to throw that into the mix and go out and shoot something. Maybe baseball, but the season's coming to an end. But
let's do it.
I was told if the Phillies make it to the next round,
are you invited?
I will get a pass. Now, my guy said that knowing most likely that the Phillies won't be in the next round. But if I did have a pass, I could be like, well, can I just fly out to St. Louis?
Yeah.
right? Like, can I get a pass? I'll go out to St. Louis. And so I've been thinking, like, if I do get access to the Phillies for the playoffs, what will my focus be? I probably won't take a 400 2.8. Right? I probably won't take a big ass piece of glass. A 120 to 300 would be a great lens. But the point is, when it becomes playoffs, I have to stay the whole game, right? Because the ending, the celebration is where it's at. But you want to. You would want to look for the story. So maybe I would go into the stands area and shoot from different angles, trying to get the entire stadium sold out, which it's rarely sold out anymore, but this time it would be sold out for the playoffs. So finding different angles, finding that different action, that's what I would be looking for the playoffs.
Not getting the same cookie cutter shot of all the players.
Just tight shots. You can't go for tight shots. It's not about tight shots.
Or you get the tight shots and you mix it in with everything else.
Shot. No, you don't need the tight shot.
I've heard from somebody you need a wides, mediums, tights, and details. I don't know who said it. Some photographer guy on YouTube with a fro.
When I was at an event and Vanessa Joy was speaking, I haven't called her. I need to call her after this. When she was speaking, she's like, I look for three things: the wides, the mediums, and the tights. And I'm like, you forgot the details. You forgot. I didn't actually yell that. I was just like, you forgot the details.
I'm very big on details. I'll bring my macro lens around for all of that kind of stuff.
Whole 4 inches.
All 4 inches.
Hashtag 4 inch. All 4 inches.
Great.
All right. You want to get into some of these stories? Why don't you talk about the other rumors from Canon rumors right now?
So they're saying the next Canon camera is going to be this R100, which they're basically saying it's going to be an R10 without an EVF in the form factor of like an M6 Mark II, of any of the M line of cameras.
Which I really liked the M6 Mark II.
That thing packed a punch for a decent price.
We were in Atlanta for that one, right?
Yeah, it was when the 90D got released. They released them both at the same time. Unfortunately, the M line's pretty much dead at this point, and so is the EF line, obviously. So, two of the last greatest, I guess, M line of cameras and EF cameras.
No EVF.
No EVF. So I'm thinking it's like an M50 Mark II without an EVF, or again, like an R10 without an EVF. They're saying it's going to have 24 megapixel APS-C sensor, Digic-X processor, all the latest and greatest there, 12 frames a second mechanical, which you really can't beat in such a small, cheap body, 4K 30, dual pixel AF version 2. They're saying 1.04, 4 million dot vari-angle touchscreen. I mean, if it's $500-600 and it's interchangeable lenses, it's not bad.
It will be.
RF mount?
If it will be, yeah, with an RF mount, that would be great. I do hope that they do give you the option to buy a viewfinder, which they did. Yeah. With the M6 Mark II, you could put a viewfinder on top.
Yep, right in the digital hot shoe.
You know what pisses me off? When you read some of the comments that people write about it, or even Canon Rumors wrote it, they're like, oh, let's hope that it gets 4K 60. I'm like, why? What is this idea that 4K 60 is the holy fucking grail of video, Steven?
I'm not a fan personally. You know, I'm more 4K 24. If I really want slow-mo, give me 4K 120. Some people just prefer the look of 4K 60, or the fact that they can slow it down 50% and still have some room to, you know, include the footage.
Yeah, I don't buy it. I'm just tired of like, oh, well, let's hope it has this. It's like, come on, they're dumbing down a camera. You don't need 4K 60. I just get tired of this. What's the word? Blah, 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 blah. The reliance on the fact that they think that the cameras need everything, and they don't.
Well, and that's the thing, is that they want all the bells and whistles for a $500 price range camera. I mean, you're not going to get it. You're just not going to get it. And you can't expect the best of the best. And this is kind of stems back to that conversation we had a few weeks ago about rumor websites and how they can be dangerous to the big three, you know, Sony, Nikon, Canon, because you're throwing out a bunch of crazy rumors. And if they're not right, people are going to be disappointed when they shouldn't have expected those crazy rumors in the first place.
Been spending most my life living in a gangster's paradise.
What?
Been spending most my life living in the gangster's paradise. Coolio, hour after hour, day after day. Yeah, whatever.
How did you get Coolio out of that whole thing I just said?
Because you were talking about, like, rumor paradise went through my head. Rumor paradise. I don't know. It's just, you know, it just went through my head right now. It's
anyway,
in my head. In my head.
God, I can't stand when you sing.
Zombies.
It's not funny. So the R100 is apparently going to be the next camera coming from Nikon or Canon for the RF mount.
Apparently.
Apparently, yes.
Apparently my grandfather won't let me ride the ride. The apparently kid was funny. He was the kid.
He was funny.
Now it's the corn kid, and I guarantee you we'll see the corn kid.
Corn kid.
We'll see the corn kid during a Super Bowl ad. I guarantee you that someone TikTok will do a thing with it. It's corn. It's got the juice. It's got the juice. All right, speaking of O.J. Simpson, we're not the juice. Well, let's talk about this news story. You may soon need to be a YouTube Premiere subscriber to watch 4K videos. Now, this was posted on, what is this, Mac Rumors, this website? Why doesn't it tell me at the top? Oh, there it is at the top, Mac Rumors. So here's the article, what they wrote. YouTube may make watching videos in 4K quality on the platform exclusive to only YouTube Premium subscribers, according to a screenshot posted by users on Twitter and Reddit. Well, where did they get it? On Reddit and Twitter, some users have started to recently noticed that on iOS and presumably across other platforms also, YouTube is now saying that in order to watch videos in 4K, the user must be paying YouTube Premium subscriber. Not all users are seeing the 4K quality option blocked behind YouTube's paywall, and it's unclear if YouTube plans to move forward with this.
I hope not.
I can't see this as being true. I just can't see this as being true. This would just be,
That's a big step backwards in my opinion.
Well, it's $11.99.
Yeah.
I get Netflix for that shit. Actually, I don't. I pay like $20 for Netflix because I got 4K, so I pay for 4K Netflix.
Well, I just checked my YouTube mobile app, and it still lets me play in 4K on my end. I'm sure there's some beta testing going around. I don't think it'll be a full-fledged thing that you have to be paying for the subscription to get 4K quality. I mean, that just blows my mind because everything is pushing towards 4K. Why would you go backwards?
It would just be a bad move to say, if you want better quality, you need to pay for it. And look, you want me to pay $5 a fucking month for something? Fine. But $12 a month just to not get ads that I skip anyway? And yeah, I get a percentage of those ads, but
the ad-free point of having the YouTube paid subscription, I don't really care for that. I'll wait 10 seconds for an ad and hit skip, or even if it's a forced 15-second ad, it's not a big deal. It's the same as watching TV and have ads served to you every 5 minutes, and they're much longer than the 15 to 30-second ads we get on YouTube.
Not a big deal, Steven. Not a big deal. So that's that story. I don't think that's going to happen.
I mean, I'm curious if it did happen, how channels with crazy production like MKBHD or Linus Tech Tips, those kind of guys, how that's going to affect them, because they're always producing the highest end quality content when it comes to production and exporting in 4K and shooting in 8K half the time.
They can't do it. They just can't do it. It's not going to happen.
I will say over the past few years whenever they switched the mobile app around, where now it's a lot harder to get into the advanced mode to then switch it to 4K quality, they've almost hidden that feature. And hey, I'm sure majority of people, like 95% of people, are just watching in whatever it broadcasts at, 720, 1080. They're not changing the resolution most likely.
Yeah. So I
am, but I'm a nerd. So
you are a nerd. I don't think that's going to happen. So the next story comes to us from DIYphotography.net. They posted that a bride cancels bridesmaid and asks her to be unpaid photographer instead. Wow. I kind of call bullshit on this article before we even start. I think it's mostly like, it's so far-fetched that it seems like it's bullshit.
I mean, you got some bridezillas out there, man. I could see it happening.
You generally have bridezillas when it comes to cheap-ass weddings. Yeah. You don't really have them, in my opinion, the ones that I shot, where people were paying more money, weren't as bad. They were easy to work with, whereas the ones that want a wedding for like $400 want to overmanage everything and want everything for nothing and get upset.
Well, the fact that their photographer didn't have a backup of some sort, or someone else to call if they were sick.
Yeah, let me read the article.
Okay.
So let me read this because we'll get to that. I'll read what they wrote, and just please understand this is a foreign website, so their English is generally terrible on this website.
Where are they at? Iceland?
No, they're in Italy. They're in Israel.
Oh, okay.
I've met them in Israel. I remember I met Udi, the founder of it. We're sitting there when I went to Israel. They brought him out to the dinner that we were having when I did that Vibe Israel trip. And he's like, oh, yeah, we got one of the largest news photo websites in the world. And I always hold that. And I'm like, no, you don't. I look at these things, there's always these people in the photo community that try to overvalue. Maybe I should have written about that instead of saying don't over celebrate your wins and don't get too low with your losses. But don't fucking lie to people and don't oversell the fact that because anybody can find information out to whether you are the best or you're not the best.
But how do you find the hard numbers of other websites? You really can't.
You look at comments. You look at the fact they don't have comments.
Definitive number. How are you going to say that you are the best of the best and have the most numbers? It's not like YouTube where you can simply just look at the analytics and the numbers. It's you can't tell.
No, you can't tell. And you know what I always say about definitives. We ran into that one person that one time at that Sony event in New York. I'm just sitting on the ground outside, minding my own business. I think I was Ted Forbes was behind me talking to this person, and the person comes out and goes, I run the largest Instagram community for photographers. And I turned around and said, bullshit. Quantify your numbers.
Yeah.
I said, right now, tell me, quantify your numbers. Well, we've got this many, and it wasn't just on Instagram, basically. He was saying the largest photo community in the world, and they had 2 million Instagram followers. And I'm like, well, you're not the largest. Like Peter McKinnon has 3 million subscribers on YouTube in the photo community. So you're full of shit. You can't say that. I said you could say you're one of the largest. You could always say you're one of the largest because that leaves that out. It leaves it open-ended to be like, you're not saying you're the largest. You're saying you're one of the largest. He wasn't very happy with that. But I also then dug into their information, went to their YouTube channel where they had like 38 views on their last video. They had about 12, they had like 100 comments on a photo, and this is, sorry, not 100 comments, 100 likes on a photo, and this was way before Instagram even had video. So they were just full of shit. It really pissed me off, and I call people on their bullshit sometimes.
Yes, you do.
Fuck around, find out. Hashtag. F around, find. Okay, a bridesmaid shared a story of how her friend demoted her at the last second before the wedding ceremony and demanded that she become her unpaid photographer instead. The woman called Aaliyah. Is that Aaliyah? A-I-L-A?
Oh, I took it as like Ayla or something like that.
It could be Ayla because Aaliyah would be A-L-I-A. Aaliyah Ladasha. It should have been Ladasha. It's not Ladasha. Presumably not her real name. Posted on the popular Reddit forum AITA, which I don't know what that is, to ask if she was correct to walk out of the wedding and her so-called friend at the request. First off, you don't need to ask the community whether you did the right thing or not. You choose whether it's not the right thing. You don't need to get back up for whether you felt slighted and left. Allegedly, the professional wedding photographer had taken ill and had to leave while the wedding party was getting ready. That left the bride in a situation where she didn't have a photographer at very short notice. Now we got to stop right there.
Yeah.
You know this is a cheap-ass wedding if it's one photographer and not two.
Exactly.
And it would be very... If I was sick at a wedding, I don't know that I would be... I mean, are you going to be deathly ill? I get it that sometimes shit happens, but I think I'm working my way through it and getting you great photos. Unless I get appendicitis and you fucking appendix burst and you got to go.
Well, for example, like my wedding photographer, she had a clause in her contract that while we were signing it, it stated that if she became ill, that she would have a backup photographer or somebody else would be on site, and it might not be her the day of, depending. And I brought that up to her during our initial meeting, and she's like, oh, no, trust me. Unless I'm literally like deathly ill, about to die and in the hospital, I will be coming to your wedding. Even if I'm not feeling great, I'll still be there. Again, it's just in there just in case. But unless I'm hit by a car and I can't move, I will be there.
You know what? Why don't I just go to this Reddit? I want to read it on Reddit instead of reading the commentary from the other bullshit. So AITA stands for Am I the Asshole? Now, this would be a great place for me to post.
Oh, you should be posting on there all the time.
I should be. So it says, AIT, am I the asshole for ditching my friend's wedding after she removed me as a bridesmaid and wanted me to sub for the photographer? Okay, Ayla, 26 female. Ooh, that's hot. 26 female. Was set to be a bridesmaid in my friend... Wait a second. Ayla was set to be a bridesmaid in my friend Deidre, 26. See, I'm trying to figure out what type of wedding is this. I'm trying to figure out the type of people.
What,
I'm like,
based on the names?
On the names.
What you're saying?
I'm like, is this a Hick wedding? Right? Is this a Kensington wedding?
The bride's name was Fran.
Oh, Steven, fuck around and find out. Fran, no, you can't do that to Steven. Fran, go away. Stop it, Fran.
Oh, jeez.
All right. Anyway, in my friend Deidre's 26 females wedding, she had 5 bridesmaids in total, including me. We met in high school and moved back to our mutual hometown area a few years later. I'm 6'1", and my nickname has always been Big Bird, while the other girls and Deidre are about 5'4" to 5'6" or so. I have a Nikon DSLR and have always liked to casually take pictures for my social media, which I did of all of us in the time leading up to the wedding.
So she had her camera on her.
I do that, Steven. I bring cameras to weddings.
You brought it to mine.
I did, but look at the great photo I got of you making out with your wife at the first kiss.
If I'm in the wedding, I usually do not take a camera. Like I didn't bring one this last month when I was in a wedding.
I was in my brother's wedding. I still took photos, but not at when I was standing up there.
I silently judged the shit out of their photographers, I'll tell you that.
I unsigned.
What camera are you shooting with? Canon 5D Mark IV with EF lenses? What are you doing?
Remember the last time I busted on another photographer at a wedding? It was Brandon's from Alan's Camera's wedding.
And the wedding photos came out great.
Well, he was really good. I was just busting his balls, and then we became friends after the fact. I now don't do that to any photographer because I know that if I do, someone's going to know that photographer, and it's going to come back to bite me in the butt.
And hey, they might look absolutely ridiculous in their shooting style or what they're doing, but they might have some great photos that they're producing. So you can't judge a book by its cover, man.
Unless you're those kids at Influencer Rock who got offended by me them being a creepy old guy filming them in a park. Hey, you're in a park, bro. And you're doing some dumb shit.
A creepy old guy with a giant afro.
That's whatever. The day of the wedding, the paid photographer, Jenny was on site at Deidre's massive church, but was sick. She said she'd eaten something that didn't agree with her, that she could power through, and she'd done COVID tests, so it wasn't that. But ultimately, she had to leave after she shit her pants.
It doesn't say that.
It doesn't say that. Shortly after she left and before... No, look, if I've got a bad stomach, I'm going to go to the bathroom, and I'm going to evacuate as much as possible, and we're going to fucking shoot, man. We're fucking shooting.
I'm with you, man.
Or in Dan's wedding case, you go and you pull someone's leg in the bathroom. Oh my God, the worst speech ever was Dan's friend at his wedding, his best man.
Yeah.
And he knows this. He knows it. Worst speech ever. I hope the kid's listening right now because it was the worst speech ever. And Dan didn't even have a photographer that got sick. Dan's photographer just didn't even show up. So I'm there.
That's because it was simply like a verbal agreement. It was like his neighbor, right? Like, hey, you're going to shoot my wedding? Yeah.
Dude, I don't know.
And they never confirmed anything.
I don't know what happened there. We still never got to the bottom of that.
And that was the one wedding you did not bring a camera to.
I was like, hey, Todd, Steven, do you think I should bring my camera to the wedding? No, Todd says, leave it at home. So I show up with just the Insta-1. No, not the Insta-1.
It was like the DX.
The DxO1 that plugged
it.
into the bottom of the camera. So that's all I had for the wedding. So
shot raw.
The the groomsman, the best man, shot wedding video. So he was doing wedding video. So he had a EOS R6. R6.
No, it's 6D Mark II.
No, it's just a 6D before
original.
the 6D Mark II.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know how to use a Canon yet. So I'm sitting there trying to take pictures. It's got a big plate on the bottom for video, but I ended up taking the raw photos, and so Dan could have some photos for his wedding. So there was that. Anyway, let's see. Shortly after she left and before we were supposed to head toward the sanctuary, Deidre asked me to walk around the perimeter of the church to make sure that the entrances were all labeled and that no one was lost. So I did that in my dress and tennis shoes and made it back in about 15 minutes. Oh, they don't like Big Bird. I think they fucking hate Big Bird, Steven.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, I don't know
Looks
about
like
this.
it.
I'm going to go look for photos of Big Bird after this. By the time I got back into the bridal suite, it was nearly time to head into the foyer. As I walked in, everyone was quiet and staring at me. Deidre's fiance's sister, Ashley, fuck you, Ashley, who hadn't been sure if she could make the wedding, was there as well. Ooh.
So they wanted her to be a bridesmaid.
Right. This is going the wrong way.
Get rid of Big Bird.
Deidre said that since Jenny was gone, they didn't have a wedding photographer. She wanted me to give my bridesmaid dress to Ashley and take photos with my Nikon since no one wanted to just have pictures on their iPhones. Everybody swarmed me and started helping me out of my dress. Oh, God, this is a great porn premise.
Yeah, but the dress has to be way too big for all her friends because they're, 5'6", she was saying.
Yeah, but we don't know how tall Ashley is. But, Steven, what a premise.
She's not Big Bird.
What a premise. So I came back into the bridal suite and all the girls attacked me. We're like, this is our last chance.
And we had a giant orgy.
You said it, Steven, not me. Okay. Ashley, take photo, blah, blah. Everybody swarmed me and started helping me out of my dress, pulling the rhinestone combs out of my hair. And Deidre took back the bridesmaid gift and said, fuck you! You do what I say. Gift of the matching Tiffany bracelet where we were wearing during the wedding to put on Ashley. Everyone said that this was a much better plan and started hyping up my photography skills. You're the best, Big Bird. You're great. Now get the fuck out of here. They were also saying this would be great because the wedding party would look uniform now. Oh, that's probably a Big Bird joke. And the moms were saying that it would be great to include all the family girls as bridesmaids. Deidre said that I would be able to eat after everyone else and that she wasn't sure where Ashley had been sitting for dinner, but it wouldn't matter because I wouldn't need to sit down anyway. This was all very rushed and I didn't have time to think, but I was immediately pretty hurt by the demand and that I'd be responsible for not only the wedding photography for free, but that everyone was implying that I'd make pictures look weird if I was in them and that I'd be okay with not having a seat at all or the chance to eat. Then I went to Snuffleupagus and said, Snuffleupagus, what do you think I should do here? And Oscar the Grouch was like, well, I think you should tell them to fuck off, Big Bird. But she kept saying, okay, I told Deidre, okay. Let me go back. I'd be okay with
specific, elaborate story to be made up.
This is, well, no, dude, it seems like bullshit. I'm sure this is bullshit. But anyway, make pictures to look weird if I was in them, and that I'd be okay with not having a seat at all or a chance to eat. I told Deidre that I wasn't a professional photographer and that I didn't know what I was doing, but she just kept saying, you'll do great, and I'm sure it'll be good. While everyone continued to get ready, I packed up all my stuff and said that I had to take it out to my car to be an asshole. That's what you take her, and then I drove home. Am I the asshole? Update elaborate comments here. ETA. What's that mean? Let me click on that. Hi, everyone. Thanks for... Oh, there's more, Steven. Okay, before we get into that, what do you think about this?
Again, my feelings towards the photographer is I would have, no matter what, I would have shot that day unless I literally was hit by a truck or I could not physically move and was dying in the hospital. Or you got to have a backup of some sort that should be on call just in case. You never know. So it had to be a lower end photographer, maybe just starting out, or a family friend. There was maybe no contract. But also on the other side of the bride, I would never, ever ask someone in my wedding party, I would never kick them out and then force them to be my photographer. Now, I will say, if I was in that wedding party as a groomsman and I had my camera on me, maybe I would volunteer to take some photos if that's what they wanted.
Well, no, fuck off. Not you, Steven. But I don't care what they want. You're not going to tell me that I'm going to go do it. I will choose to do it.
If you tried to force me,
I will choose to do it. I've said this before, that if I'm someone contacts me like a day before, it's like I'm getting married tomorrow. Not a friend, but okay. Like if my friend Taylor, if she was like, "Hey, you want to shoot a wedding with me tomorrow?" Someone dropped out, I'd be like, "If I'm available, sure, I'll come shoot a wedding. That'd be fun."
Of course, yeah,
because I don't have to worry about it.
Now, I do think Big Bird did the right thing. I would have been like, "Fuck off," and I would have peaced out right away. I would have gotten my car, drove home, especially if they forced me to. They took away all the bridesmaids' gifts and everything that they gave you. It seems like, again, they didn't even want her to be in the bridal party anyway. She was more of a replacement for the sister.
Well, that's the thing, is like they didn't feel like they wanted her there, and it just feels so out of place. It's just weird. But also the other thing not being talked about is, did the wedding photographer give them their money back? Why wasn't there a second shooter? You would want to have a second shooter. Is there someone who could replace this person?
Correct. So I made sure all of that was in my contract. Again, when we hired our wedding photographer, that was there were two shooters. Again, there was a backup on call if need be. And she said, again, if unless I'm hit by a truck, I will be there no matter what.
Okay, so there's more. Like if I read that, I go in and click on the comments. Hi everyone, thank you for weighing in. I'm reading through all your comments and wanted to answer some of the most common questions I've seen.
Is this real?
So I'll use this as an update and to answer your questions. I was trying not to include too much information in my post, but I think I should include more. Yeah, you should include more. Throw her under the Muppets bus.
I'd put the address, phone number, name, everything out there.
Send her. Let's see her Instagram.
Let's dox her.
Wait, let me see. Let me see if we can look at if this person has a photo. No photo.
I mean, this almost reminds me of when I had to shoot my friend's wedding that I thought I was only going to take a couple engagement photos for, if you recall, a couple years back.
I do.
So what had happened is they were supposed to have an engagement party. I got invited. They said, hey, can you bring your camera? We're just going to take maybe one or two like quick close-up headshots or something of us two that we can put on like a card for the engagement photos and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. And whatever. It'll take me 5 minutes. And they're like, nothing fancy. Just in case, I brought all my gear with me, every single lens I owned. You never know. You never know. Because people always say, just take a photo or two, and then it ends up being a giant photo shoot. So I wanted to make sure I was prepared. Meanwhile, I'm in my bathing suit. I've got my flip-flops on because, again, it was supposed to be like a backyard engagement party with a pool and everything. So I show up, and they're like, yeah, by the way, we're getting married in about 5 minutes, and you're going to be our wedding photographer.
That's
and I'm like,
fucked up,
what?
Steven. That's fucked up.
What?
You should have big birded them.
Thankfully, and this is also, I'm a couple beers in at this point. I've got flip-flops on. I'm like, I can't do this like right now. So I ended up doing it, and the photos came out decent for the most part, and I'm glad I brought all my gear, but it was super stressful because I thought I was there as a guest, and I ended up being the actual photographer day of. And I told them, I'm like, guys, just all you had to do was ask me beforehand. I didn't want to charge you or anything. I would have done it. I just hate not being prepared.
Right. That is the worst, when people expect you to do it and they didn't ask.
And you can't prepare for, you would never expect someone to do that. No. It's not like I prepared myself like, oh, I might be the wedding photographer today. I didn't even know they were going to get married that day.
All right, you ready? I'm going to read her reply here.
Yep.
The dress was a mid-length dress from David's Bridal with no tailoring. That I don't really care about this part.
No.
I don't care about that. Jenny was there for a period of time, and so she should be able to send them the professional photos of us getting ready, but I personally watched her getting sweatier. Are you related to her, Stephen? So I suspected her having to
my
leave,
long-lost cousin.
even though I didn't witness it, was genuine and urgent. I don't think that Deidre, whose alias I should have chosen better due to me spelling it differently every time, dismissed her. I do now think that she asked me to check around the church as a way of getting me off by myself, since Jenny had already left at that point and she'd had time to think about what to do. Because of where the bridal suite was positioned, few people were parked over there, and I have a car with a distinctive color that had been parked right up by it. So it's probably yellow for Big Bird. So I suspected no one messaged me in alarm because they looked out and immediately realized I'd just left. And I suspect that they're not going to message me and ask if they can get the few pictures I'd already snapped either. A lot of people are telling me to take Deidre to court, the people's court. Judge Wapner. Dun, dun, dun. Entering the court right now is Big Bird. On the other side is Deidre. Today, we are listening to Judge Wapner. Okay, everybody, what are we doing here? Bernie Sanders court. Hello, what are we doing? Big Bird, were you taking pictures during the ceremony, or Deidre, do you think you're wrong? Should take her to court, but that's just not in my nature. I would really prefer not to stir things up with her, but have been watching social media, which they haven't blocked me on. I posted here because I saw a couple of vaguely snarky comments from Deidre's mother-in-law about how they couldn't get a photographer to stay, but they made do. The only message I've gotten directly has been one of the other bridesmaids asking me if I'd gotten any pictures at all, and I just ignored it. But I've been turning this over in my mind and wondering if I am the asshole for bailing, so I posted here. The last thing I want to clarify is that people have been comparing this to the scene in Cinderella. It certainly didn't feel good, but in the moment, I was in problem-solving mode because there was being presented to me as last-minute problem that I needed to help solve. Everyone's talking like we were collaborating on this great thing while quickly getting all of my items off and onto Ashley. This is so stupid. I had worn a black velour tracksuit and a t-shirt to the church, so it wasn't literally telling me to walk around in my underwear, but still.
I don't think we need to read on at this point.
No, that's it. That's stupid, Steven. I had enough. She didn't even answer the photo question.
No.
You know what? So, at the end of the day, this is a stupid story. Stupid story. But if I'm in that situation, look, no. I mean, here's the fact. If you're in the bridal party, you're in the bridal party.
Correct.
If you wanted to ask her to take photos, hey, like, this is crazy, so call me maybe.
I would never force anybody in my bridal party to be our photographer.
No, and then undress them?
And kick them out of the party, yeah.
You'd be like, hey, take her to the side and be like, Big Bird, so being that Jenny had to go, would it be possible for you to take some photos with your camera? And we're not going to undress you. You'll still sit where you want to sit. It's just stupid. I just call bullshit on most of that. So I got nothing else on that, Steven.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate situation, and I'm curious how long ago this was. Was this a recent wedding? Was this years ago?
I think it was fairly recent.
Okay.
But last story, move on to the last story here.
Yep.
Kate Middleton criticized for denying chances to other photographers. Now, this was posted on Petapixel, and it says the Princess of Wales, Kate Middleton, has been criticized by a royal photographer for taking the official pictures of her children rather than allowing other professional photographers who could make their name doing it.
How dare you take pictures of your own children?
How dare you take photos? Over the years, Middleton has shot and released the official portrait of her 3 children, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis, to mark special occasions such as their birthdays. However, royal photographer and asshole John Swainell, yeah, he should be on that Am I the Asshole page, because he is, has accused Middleton of dashing the hopes of a generation of photographers by taking her own pictures of her children. How dare you? And I quote, "All the work I got with the Royals really elevated my career. Nowadays, someone like me just won't have the chance," Swainell tells Mail One. Those chances should be given to young English photographers named Jared Polin.
And Stephen Eckert.
Although Swainell does not have high regard for Middleton's photography skills, he admitted that there were benefits to the Princess of Wales taking the images of her children herself. In some ways, though, and this is a quote, "In some ways, though, Kate is probably right to do it herself," he explains.
No, you think?
But he says she's not a great photographer, but she just snaps away, and with kids, it's easier if you know them. Fuck you, asshole. You fucking pretentious fuck. Earmuffs.
Oh, God.
Swainell has worked on it, blah, blah, blah. Fuck you, Swainell. Fuck you. I don't even want to read your name anymore.
Middleton, lots of F-bombs in this episode.
Sorry. She became the first... Anyway, Kate Middleton's a photographer. I've watched her as her photos have gotten better and better as she's taken photos of her kids. And I wonder if she's ever watched any of our videos. I just hope she didn't watch the one on Prince Harry where I critiqued those wedding photos.
I mean, they're not... From what I'm seeing on the website, they don't look terrible. They do look
fine.
Somewhat of snapshots a little bit, but they're her kids.
She's a parent taking photos of her kids. She's not
That's
a photographer.
But
she wants to be, and she enjoys it. So she's going to continue to get better. I wrote underneath in the comments, I'm like, you go, girl. It was basically, shoot what you want to shoot. You do what you want to do. Screw this Swainell asshole. And some other people did comment, though, it is possible that it's hard for non-royal family citizens to understand this. I understand there is a tradition and there are expectations that the firm, look it up in the context of the royal family if you don't know what that is, gets to choose most everything regarding each royal's public image. I expect this would normally include who gets to photograph them. So really the argument against what she's done are tradition, royal public image, or the similar declarations. So basically saying that when you're a royal, being that you're they're getting paid to be the royal family, that they're obligated to make certain things public because of tradition. And my feeling on that is fuck your tradition. Do whatever you want. Like, that's their thing, is they want to change the tradition, so let them do it. This guy's a dick for saying, like, she's not a great photographer, but she just snaps away. Screw you, old man, boomer.
And I think times have changed. This is not 40 years ago where not many people had either a phone in their pocket or access to a digital camera, high-end digital camera for a decent price. Film was a lot harder to... What?
I got one hand in my pocket right now.
Okay.
And the other is hailing a taxi cab.
Okay.
That's great.
Cool. Yeah, I just think it's a lot different these days. It's a lot easier to take photos.
It is, but I'm happy that she has chosen to take the pictures of her kids and think that if she wants to release the official portraits, then that's what matters. They're
and these
official.
Are kids. It should be somewhat of a private thing, taking photos of them. I know they're going to need an official headshot for the royal family, but still, it's nice to have these private, intimate moments and then be able to release what pictures you want the public to see.
Right, and not the stuffy old bullshit. Let's sit in a room in the royal gallery and take photos.
Yeah,
that's my take on that.
Agreed.
So I got nothing else on that. You guys could text us what you think, 313-710-9729. Don't forget, we want to see those hashtags. I guess I'm going to save these questions for next week and the NFT discussion for next week, because if it fits in, because we are running overtime and we've got some place to go, Steven.
Yes, we do.
We got something to do, and we need to prep for that because...
It's a secret.
I'm going to be hungry. I'm going to be way hungry. Oh, look, John Swainell has 300. I'm going to comment on his post. Nope, he doesn't follow me, though. He's got 3,219 followers. He's a visual artist. Get in contact for limited prints. Oh, so you can sell prints of the Queen? That's okay. Let me read your comments. Oh, here it is. Oh, somebody commented. So you're criticizing the Princess of Wales when you shoot naked people with seafood? Haven't you gotten better actively than bullying?
What?
I don't know. I don't know what these people are saying. Screw this guy. Anything you want to add, Steven, before we get going?
I think you should bookmark that Am I the Asshole Reddit thread because you need to post something there every day.
You think I should post there every day? You should post it every day. Hi, is my boss an asshole? Here's what happened. No, I'm not really an asshole. I'm an asshole, but I'm not really an asshole.
No, you're fine.
I'm fine.
To me.
I'm fine, Steven. I'm very respectful.
Very respectful.
You better believe it, Steven, because Nancy will get a call from me being like, Nancy, look, Nancy, listen. Nancy, listen. Nancy, are you listening? Fire Steven.
Damn it, Nancy.
No, don't fire Steven. Okay, Steven, RAWtalk episode 19. If you guys want to leave some comments as you normally do, I said what to do earlier. If you want to give a rating, give us a rating. But be sure to listen in the first week. We want to hit that 10,000 number because then we could start selling ads. That's an arbitrary number. I'm just kidding. At some point, we probably will add ads into here, but we don't care. This isn't about the making money with the podcast. It's about enjoying and talking about photography and whatever crosses our mind.
Yes, sir.
So you are Steven. I'm Jared Polin from FroKnowsPhoto.com, and we're going to see you on the next one. All right, Steven?
Bye.
Bye. No, I say goodbye. I can hear you now. Bye.